Conflict is coming for your team. It's not if, it's when. Welcome to the Captains and Coaches Podcast. We explore the art and the science of leadership through the lens of athletics and beyond. I'm your host, Tex McQuilkin, and today is all about conflict and resolution. We're going to be introducing tools and rules that I want coaches to put in place for their team captains. I don't want you to just, when there's conflict, say, hey, go figure it out, and set your captains up for failure for conflict resolution with their teammates. I want you to establish rules that we're going to introduce, goals, and give them the tools so they can take on and get reps with resolving conflict in this environment of sport. And these are valuable tools, valuable opportunities, and reps that they're going to take into the real world following their sports and athletic career. I recall very vividly one of the first confrontations that I had as a team captain. So 3-year team captain with my college lacrosse team. In my senior year, during fall ball, we had freshmen that went out on a Tuesday night. Our school soccer team had a big win. These dudes were pals. They had invitations out to a soccer party following a victory for the school, and they took it. We had practice the next day, fall ball practice for lacrosse. Word got back to coach that these dudes went out, and we had 48, 24-hour rules in place outside of practice and lacrosse activities. These dudes clearly violated it. They took advantage of being freshmen and out on their own for the first time where they could make their own decisions, and they took advantage, and the word got back to coach some way, shape, or form. I don't know how. Needless to say, practice was canceled and it just turned into a conditioning session. And coach left it up to the team to figure it out. He was aware of the problem. He made captains aware of the problem. And then the team, we had to run, basically. So the dudes they went out, they were not bitching, moaning, complaining. They were not getting defensive. They faced the punishment along with the team. Unfortunately, a lot of team members attacked them, building this resentment, calling them out for, activities that we were all guilty of. It's just within the team rules that we violated that 24, 48-hour rule. And yeah, it got aggressive, it got heated, it got confrontational, and I stepped up. So 1, 2, 3 years as captain, I was a lead by example guy. Our emotional leaders, they had then graduated, so I stepped up into more of putting tools in place, working with Coach Reynolds. Check out Captains and Coaches episode 25 for that great relationship that I had with Coach Reynolds, head coach at the time, and still head coach. So now the senior year that I needed to step into a vocal role. Lacrosse is a spring sport. We had fall ball. I assumed that a lot of my teammates wanted to work as hard as me. They appreciated and valued lacrosse as much as I did, and I assumed that. So now during this session of conditioning, Coach made his point, and then he walked off and left it to the team. And I felt the urge, the need to now step into a vocal role. This is very vivid. This was one of my first true public speaking opportunities. I was nervous. My voice was cracking. I was passionate for the team. I certainly did not get my message across as well as I could have now, but it was an extremely valuable rep in understanding who I was working with. So these freshmen, they were great lacrosse players, certainly better than I was when I was a freshman. A lot of the tools and tasks we were giving them, it came easy to them. And that's a lot of fall ball. You teach them this, and you're installing your offense, and they're stepping into a college role where they're, for the first time in their lives, they don't have a curfew. They're not adhering to the household rules. They have this freedom. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I assumed they wanted it as much as I did. These dudes that we were pulling from, they were from different parts of the country, Maryland, New York, extremely skilled, the lacrosse at our school, it came easy to them. They were very talented recruits. They didn't have to do everything that I did just to have an impact with the team. So at that stage of their college career, lacrosse was easy. They felt that they could go out and the manage the demands of a college sport, although we had not experienced their first season yet. So a lot of things that I assumed with this group, and they assumed stepping into this that one experience or one uh, fall ball that was college lacrosse. They had yet to experience the full season of what it means to fail later in the season, knowing something that I could have focused on during the fall or worked hard enough during the summer to work on this thing that's going to uh, appear when we are seniors or later in season. So such a valuable, rich experience from learning to public speak to learning to confront these guys and still get their side of the story instead of just trying to attack them. That certainly wasn't the style of leader I was. I needed to understand. I wanted to understand, and um, get some reps. So that was one of my first confrontations as a captain, verbally, vocally stepping up in front of the whole team and trying to understand why individuals were making decisions that negatively affected others, interpersonal connection there. So that was valuable for me to confront. I didn't have the tools that I'm going to get into. Now we're going to roll into the conflict resolution process. First and foremost, we need to de-escalate. Coach did a great thing by putting us into our bodies, making us run, making us dog freaking tired so we could get over the emotions, the resentment that we're all feeling, and put us in a position we were de-escalating, and then he let us be. He let us resolve it. So at this stage, the first thing that we need to do, I recommend get into your body. If your temper is at a 10, you need to get into your body, move, find a way to breathe, but de-escalate. Many people put a 24-hour rule before they come back to it. I feel that works well in the real world, but with teams where we're living together, we have practices in less than 24 hours, or games are happening in heated moments. That's very tough to do, that 24-hour rule, especially making that a habit. So aim is to de-escalate, get into your body, move, breathe, get us from that 10 down to a 7 and below, and now we can process it. Now I can bring it up with my words, and you have one of two choices. Let it go and move on, or deal with it. And here are going to be the goals, the resources for you to deal with it. So, the first one for healthy conflict resolution for our teams is going to be actually resolving the conflict. Working with a lot of college athletes and high school athletes, they give you the stone wall and just say, fine, I'm fine. I don't care. It doesn't matter. That's not letting it go. They're putting that wall up. It doesn't resolve everything, and those emotions are going to stir, boil up, and it's going to erupt at some point when you least want it to. And that resentment lava just builds up. So we need to actually aim to resolve that conflict. Uh, it's not a matter of winning an argument. If a senior comes over the top or a coach comes over the top and they're just trying to overpower the other player, the younger player, that's not resolving anything. We actually have to look at the materials and address it to work through it together. So rule number one, goal number one is to actually resolve the conflict and not overpower or stonewall and prevent this thing from getting resolved. Goal number two, I need you to see the situation as accurate as possible. This is a lot of reason I love sports. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. Often during conflict, we have film on this, whether it's a game or practice. There's an opportunity for us to get both sides of that conflict within sport. Now, that's not necessarily going to happen if there's social issues or even stuff that's going on inside the locker room, we don't have access to actual footage. So now, as a leader, I need to aim to get both sides of the story, whether I'm resolving a conflict between two individuals or I'm a leader stepping in and calling somebody out for their behavior. I have to get their side of the story. Reflecting on that story of my senior with those freshman dudes that went out, investigate what happened there. They were young, they were in college for the first time. They had an opportunity with no rules to go out on that Tuesday night. And I imagine there were girls there that they wanted and they wanted them. So that's plenty of reason for a young man to just go out and take advantage of that. Not knowing that somebody would be there to then reflect back to coach that they violated one of our team rules. So, okay, I imagine we've all been there as young men. So that's an understanding of where they were coming from in that. But conversation has to get started. And then now knowing that, okay, next time I have a freshman class come in, I need to establish the rules. What is red light? What is yellow light? What is green light? That 24-hour rule, especially when it comes to important practices or games, that's a red light. You know the rules, rather than me assuming that they're in there. Then there's certain yellow lights within the rules that, okay, hey, proceed with caution or slow down and think about what you're doing here, and then green light go. Uh, Leaving those up for interpretation, but if the team has an understanding and a clear expectation of those rules, that's a one way to approach it. So get both sides of the story, and I would aim to connect and reference behaviors back to team values. Hopefully, those are in place. And now, goal number 3 is be open to examining your part. And that's what I just did as a leader. I stepped across to understand their part. I took responsibility there in understanding that, and there was mutual accountability there. So I'm seeing the situation accurate, getting as many stories as I can, and then I'm reflecting on what was my responsibility in that conflict. I'm not getting defensive. I'm not putting any walls up myself. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to own my part. I'm teachable, and I'm establishing a growth mindset approach as a leader and modeling then the behavior that I want to see from the younger guys. So if they start to get defensive, I've already modeled that I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to learn, or I'm willing to acknowledge some things that I did wrong within that. That's not weakness. That's leadership. I'm willing to say that I'm sorry here. That's true strength, a humble swagger, if you will. So certain things get in the way of these 3 goals. The first is emotional escalation. And that's one thing why if it's at the 10 as a coach or a leader, a captain, I can't come at that heated kid at a 10. If they're at a 9, I can't come in at a 10 and try to overpower them. They are usually, with that emotions, they want to be heard. So we need to de-escalate the situation. If it's 10 to 8, put them into their bodies, make them run, make them hold pillars, make them breathe, so we can aim to calm down and get into a more parasympathetic situation. If it's games, they're out. They need to go to the end of the bench, or they need to walk to the end zone and back, and or I tell them, hey, go meet me at the end zone or the opposite end zone. I'll meet you there. So I give them time to sprint there, walk there, whatever it may be, time to cool off, refocus, and then I meet them where they're at, literally and figuratively, and get them into a 7 where we can de-escalate the situation. So another thing that will get in the way is emotional reasoning. Don't let your feelings determine what's true. I need to stick to facts. That's going to be an important thing. It's not necessarily their feelings. I often say this when working with athletes in the weight room. Your feelings are lie to you. So if they feel, oh, this movement, that feels weird, that doesn't feel right. Did it hurt? No. Okay, well, it's just a new movement or a new squat variation that we're introducing. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means we're exploring this for the first time. Staggered stance squat, rocket squat, whatever it may be. Well, the same applies especially working with high school and college kids. I mentioned the dudes from my team, that was the first time they had freedom. So then, okay, they don't know what that feels like, this ultimate autonomy. Even though they have autonomy, there are certain boundaries in place for a team that need to be communicated. So emotionally, hey, I'm sure that was a great freaking time until Wednesday, hours later, when your whole team is paying for it. So, uh, other things that get in the way is that resentment. Trust me, there were teammates yelling at these dudes, and coach didn't call them out by name, but word had spread amongst the team. So there were teammates yelling at them negatively. Well, that's building resentment in that individual. And now it's building a lack of trust within the team, a lack of respect, and a sense of shame towards them versus tools that we can actually use. Now, those teammates, they were not motivated to tell anyone the next time they're going to go do this. So now they're covering up things that they're doing. They're potentially leading to more shame, hiding stuff from different teammates potentially. So there's too much risk in not bringing this up and avoiding this conflict at all costs. So many things will get in the way. Now transitioning into our tools, and I love, big Phil Jackson fan, especially how he managed different egos within a basketball team and had found such success at a high level. Good teams become great ones when members trust each other enough to surrender the me for the we. Phil Jackson, 11-time NBA champion. Okay, so now we're going to get tactical and give you specific tools to work on. And there are 5 non negotiables. So we've established the goals that we're aiming to accomplish. Now we're going to get into the tools, non negotiables, coaches, captains, handing these off. Here we go. Rule number 1, play with respect. Class, class, class. Even in the toughest moments, you have to lead with respect towards your teammates, whether we're leading down, whether we're leading towards our peers right here on our same level, or we're leading up to another teammate or towards our coaching staff. It's got to be respectful no matter what. This is going to prevent that emotional escalation and allow us to operate within reason to solve this conflict. So if we already established rule number 1, we are working to solve this conflict. Now we need to treat each other with respect. If the individual that I am in conflict with starts to be disrespectful, as a captain, as a coach, as a leader, I cannot meet them with that. I need to represent and model the behavior that I need. I need to be a mirror here, a model and a mirror for the behavior that I'm looking for. So respect is the baseline in every interaction. And this is where leaders start to separate themselves from the pack and they really truly grow up. Because a lot of freshmen are going to just be in that emotional escalation and just go from 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 and then usually ends in fisticuffs. So this is something I want to make that point is you have to lead with respect. Real captains and coaches stay respectful even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So disrespect usually happens when people and someone feels they're not being heard. And maybe you can be empathetic and think about the last time you had conflict and whether you were willing to listen to their side of the story. So hold on to that. Disrespect usually happens when someone feels like they're not being heard. Okay, one more thing. Learn to tell the difference between passionate communication and actual anger. And this is something I learned from working with young men, high school, college age. Their tonality is not where it is for adults or other coaches you're working with. So passionate communication, they care, but it feels like it, again, feelings will lie to you. It feels like they're coming at you with a sense of anger. They just are working on expressing themselves accurately and appropriately. So this is a tool. Then I repeat what they say back to me in a monotone to see if I'm hearing correctly what they're saying specifically versus how they're saying it. They may not be representing how they're saying and feeling it appropriately yet. And then I can work that feedback into there. So if they're aggressive, if they're very passionate, I'm not going to see that as a sign of disrespect. There's certain words, that are disrespectful that I can then take as disrespect and still put them in a position to teach them a lesson. Okay, tool number 2, I need you to listen like a captain. Don't talk over, don't talk over anybody. Don't interrupt them. Don't stop them. Allow them time and space to be heard. And I'm not necessarily saying that the goal is 50-50 compromise here in your resolution. I just need them to be heard. I need to listen intently, just like as a quarterback is listened to in the huddle. Everyone has their attention, active listening, and this is another opportunity for me to then repeat back what I'm hearing and then aim to get a confirmation. Is that correct? So I'm not assuming anything. I'm not putting what I would do into their mind and logic. I'm not attacking them and saying, what are you thinking? What were you thinking? What were you doing? No, I'm going to pose a question and then listen. And when I do listen, now I'm going to speak assertively and be proactive as a leader. So speaking assertively is a leader's ability to bring up conflict and issues without raising the defenses, without pointing them and saying, hey, you did this, you did that. So that's a tool. I want to speak assertively. Hey, when you did this, this is how I felt. When you did this, that led me to make this decision for the team, to punish them. So here's what I felt when I heard that news. So all different ways for us to speak assertively versus accusing them and throwing up and causing barriers and blocks to go up. Next, and this is in line, I already stated that, we're clarifying what you heard. So speak assertively and then clarify what it is that you heard. This is huge, and ensuring that they are heard and understood. And please take note of that so we can come back to it and work on a solution logically. And lastly, timing and delivery. How you say something matters as much as what you say when you're in a leadership role. I mentioned the high school, college guys earlier, when they first get into this, they are delivering what clearly, but how they're delivering it could be seen as aggression. Well, as a leader, I need to model and represent that and put myself in a position to protect myself and be very clear on what and how I'm saying these words are going to come across. That's when I can ask for clarification as well. So it's not only, did I hear you correctly, and repeating back what they said, now making sure and asking them to repeat back what I said. And hopefully we've de-escalated from that 10 to a 7, and now we're on the same level of communication, the same energy. If I delivered my expectation or what I heard or saw at a 5 and then asked them to repeat it back to me, it's back at that 5 versus the defenses that are coming up. Which leads me to my next one. Defenses: own your mistakes. Don't fumble the responsibility. When conflict arises, avoid the temptation to deflect, blame, or change the subject. Accountability is like defense on the field. If everyone does their job, the team stays strong. Growth only happens when we're honest about our part in the breakdown. Okay, continuing on, and examples of deflection, and please reflect on any conflict that you've had with either teammates or people you've been leading. Lying, denying, or blaming. It wasn't my fault, or they dragged me there. Making excuses or using fatalism. I can't help it. It's just the way I am. That fixed mindset starts to pop up. Refusing to talk about the issues. They're stonewalling, and that kills relationships. They say, fine, okay, no problem. And it's with that attitude, and they're not willing to be heard. That's when I need to ask them to repeat back what I'm asking them to do. Or they start to attack others to take the spotlight off themselves. I referenced my teammates earlier. They knew they were wrong in what they did, that violation of the rules. They just shut up and they made sure that they were the fastest person and finishing first within their sprints. There was an opportunity for them to turn around and attack the guys that were yelling at them during our punishment session, and they refused to. They took responsibility in a sense by fighting and pushing and being a model how all of us needed to run those reps. And then there's discrediting the messenger. So a form of deflection. Why should I even listen to you? Now that is very common within kid to parent relationships. I hope that the kids do not bring that up to a coach based off things that they've seen a coach do that's not representative of the values of the team. So discrediting the person who's trying to help them and keep them in line. Very common within a team captain relationship because all the social situations within high school and college teams. So make sure we got the right people in place that are willing to have value and back up the messages that they're giving. And agency is a core value within captains and coaches. I want athletes, I want leaders to be making their own decisions. So all of these rules in place and tools that I handed off here, they lead to agency and helping leaders make the appropriate decisions, and then they can help others, not scold them or shame them for their decisions as teammates, but help lead them to making responsible decisions later on in the future. All right, two more rules to cover. Number 4, use the red flag wisely. Know when to fold them and call coach. Not every single problem as a team captain needs to be delivered to coach. There are certain things that must be escalated up to coach, and that is going to be between the captain and the coach. Coach establish clear boundaries that if these are violated, you need to hear about it from your team captain, period, end of story. If you're hearing about it from school administration or worse, that's going to be a problem from not only the team captain, but the whole freaking team, which was our case um, from Coach Reynolds on this particular event I mentioned earlier. So that being said, like as a team captain, don't go tattling on every little thing and telling coach every little thing. There are certain things that need to be confronted as a team captain, and a filter for this, if it's potentially dangerous for an individual and threatens their livelihood, threatens their life, threatens their ability to stay in school, can truly negatively affect the team, you got to send that up the flagpole to coach. If it is a conflict and it's between teammates, if it's between leader and another teammate, if it's a behavior that is getting in the way of that individual's success and has potential to drag others down, then captains take on that responsibility. But if the conflict lasts 3 days, now I need you to send it up to coach and be as factual as possible, be as level-headed as possible, and give them all the tools that you already tried to then lead this individual. So 3 days is the rule. Maybe that's one confrontation every single day, or if it's confrontation on the first day, you give them 24 hours to get their stuff together. Then I come back and ask them, is this corrected? Did you do this? Then okay, then we're in a position to, all right, moving on. And we hopefully create a good leader because their life is better because that captain stepped in. But if it continues, or they're lying to you, or they're continuing that behavior, now is a good time to call in the big guns for coach. That key relationship, not only between captain and coach, but also captain and teammates. If you're giving them the opportunity to resolve their challenges, again, going back to agency on their own, that's good trust. But once they violate that trust with you, if they say they're going to stop that behavior, and they continue it, you check in on it and it hasn't changed at all, okay. Well, let's get the guy that controls the playing time in here, and maybe he'll value that. So that is a sense of the humble swagger we were speaking of, where I'm keeping the collective trust and wisdom of the team together, but at the same time, if the decisions, the behaviors are affecting the whole organization, I got to call on the guy whose truly livelihood relies on our graduating, our winning, our success on and off the field. Because that's the other thing with coaching. And this is maybe a little tangent, but if I'm a college coach, my livelihood relies on the decisions of 18 to 23, 24-year-olds. I got to be teaching them something, or else I won't be there very long. Okay, last non-negotiable. Review the tape. Learn, adjust, and grow. Mistakes, conflict, as I mentioned to start the show, is inevitable. Make it good, a good conflict that we can continue to grow from. And athletes within the high school and the college realm, this is an environment where we're allowed to fail. The consequences affect me and you, coach, the team, on a very small, controllable environment and scale. It's not tearing people's lives down. Hopefully, some of those decisions, but these are all things to consider. This is an environment and an arena where we can learn how to lead. We can learn how to fail. We can learn how our agency, our decision makings affects others before we step out into a career that could potentially end if my behaviors were not confronted then. So we're aiming to get reps resolving conflict. I mentioned that time that I public spoke in front of the whole team, voice cracking, super emotional, and don't know if anybody listened. But I mean, I remember how I felt. I couldn't tell you the words that I said, but I remember how that felt in the moment, just expressing how much the team meant to me, and hoping that the dudes listened and saw what a leader represented, and but that it was more than the going out on Tuesday nights. There's plenty of Tuesday nights to go out on the off season when we have our focus time. Let's focus. So those are our tools there. I'll review them to close it out, but just want to put one more layer on this. So we have our goals, we have our tools. There are two types of resolution that you need to truly close the book and move on from this. And as I introduce these, I want you to reflect on conflicts that you've had with your teammates or your athletes. The first form of resolution, this is intellectual. Intellectual resolution is figuring out what went wrong and what needs to change. That's the easy part. The most difficult part, especially with this high school to college age group, this is emotional resolution. Very difficult. That's where you open up your heart as a leader. You offer grace. You don't scold or shame them for their mistakes. You look at them as people. And now, if I'm able as a senior to remember what it was like to have the freedom for the first time in the fall semester as a freshman and getting invited to a party by a beautiful girl, okay, now I can have some grace for that decision. So that's a representation of it. So we can now talk about what went wrong. I can put myself in their shoes, and that will help lead us to forgiveness. That will help lead us to now a resolution. And I'm teaching that freshman how to be a senior captain when they get that opportunity, versus just yelling and MFing and shaming them. So those two things, make sure that we resolve both intellectual and emotional. I've seen a lot of coaches come out with high emotions and just try to hammer home the intellectual. Not going to happen. Let's meet them on a 7, 6, 5. I can still be mad, right? I'm disappointed. Or I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. There. Okay. That was going to help in preventative maintenance. I'm glad that happened in fall for us. We had a great run my senior year, beating some ranked teams and truly competing. So preventative, that truly set us up. Coach Reynolds handled it extremely well, and that sent us up for preventative maintenance throughout the rest of that season. And our relationship certainly did deepen between me and that freshman class. And did it lead to less conflict? Sometimes not. And conflict continued to come for that team, but that was a good thing. Now I can reflect on those moments and continue to grow. So that's competitive empathy. I have passion and compassion for those teammates, but I can also see their side of the story and how it affects and help them understand how it affects the whole the team as a whole, our culture, and always leading with respect to them. So to bring it all home, remember the fundamentals, resolve the issue, see the situation accurately, own your part. Um, yeah, within our tools, I need you to play with respect, class. Listen like a captain. Don't talk. Don't interrupt. Don't overplay. Don't overpower. Own your mistakes. Don't fumble your responsibilities. Number 3, know when to throw the red flag to call in coach. And um, yeah, number 5 here, learn, grow, adjust, because that's what that sport is all about. Captains, sports don't teach these lessons. Captains and coaches together do. You've got the tools, you've got the game plan. Now go build better teams, build better relationships, make these lasting. What is hilarious, I just visited University of Notre Dame for football with my dad, podcast, hanging out with the strength and conditioning staff, hanging out with the lacrosse coach, and guess who I run into before the game? All the dudes that then had that freshman party on that Tuesday night. So just freaking hilarious. They were on my mind, and yeah, brought up this whole thing, and we were able to have some jokes and laughs about that moment and many other, because we've been friends for a long time and many years. So that's what it's all about. I don't hold any resentment. I couldn't even remember a lot of why that happens. They had to jog my memory. So shout out to those teammates that continue to, I mean, I continue to learn the lessons for 20 plus years from when we actually laid the groundwork with that team. Appreciate all you guys, and man, it's fun to see them become business leaders, fathers, uh, officers, and all that our team accomplished. So yeah, that's the episode. If you want to support us, like, review, do all that good stuff on the show, sign up for the newsletter, captainsandcoaches.com. I continue to hand off these notes that I got with the podcast, and make sure that you're able to get that toolkit, apply it, print it out, send it to your athletes, send it to your teammates, send it to your coaches if you're a captain who's diving in right now. That's all we got for the show. So thank you for tuning in and helping us raise the game.